Primary thing with protection levels is the more the better. The more protection you have, the more nodes or drives you can lose at any one time. Balance that with the cost of having those additional nodes or drives. They always have an overhead that has an additional cost to how much data is used in storing information on the cluster. How many extra nodes do you need? So you have to balance that between what you need and what you can afford. Recovery time entries, we find those, most customers don't understand them, don't think about that. The recovery point objectives, most customers just have an instinct from early experiences with computers. How often do I need to save my file in order to keep from losing it when the computer crashes? They then carry that on into their on-the-job experience as their data operations managers. And they know about it that way, but they may not have specifically planned it out. You can identify critical data that needs to be a higher RTO or RPO and set up separate policies for that data so that it's configured individually at a higher level or a lower level depending on the specific data that you've recognized. FlexProtect is really the knight in shining armor that goes through and re-protects all of the data in the event of a device failure. So it is one of the most critical jobs in the entire cluster. It is so critical that we don't allow any other job to run by default when it runs, so that all of the work gets done faster. It does tend to be a very intense job. It will also wind up touching data that hasn't been touched by anything else for a while, so it does tend to find problems and in some instances even create new ones simply because it's been moving data around to locations it hasn't had data before. The primary price for FlexProtect is simply the fact that it takes time to re-protect the data when you've had a device loss. As clusters get larger and larger, that amount of time increases dramatically. We had one customer where we actually had to have the network team follow the IP address to the port, follow the cables to the actual nodes. They didn't know where the cluster was. It had been running for 5 years. And the only reason that we encountered a problem was because we had 2 devices fail at one time. When we resolved the issue, we wound up replacing 15 hard drives in that cluster because FlexProtect had been going through and doing its job and re-protecting all the data, but no one was replacing the hard drives.